1946, when there was no more fractional reserve required for the Federal Reserve Bank, which is a private consortium that Ron Paul has been trying to get disclosure on for over 20 years. And if you extrapolate what's happening in terms of inflation, and if you're familiar with the term stagflation right now, the snowball it's gone. There's no way. The subprime market is it's fractional in terms of what the derivative markets are going to be starting to drop off. Major write-offs are coming, and the thing I think is the most important thing to think about, I think, at this particular point in time is all this is going to become a moot point for survivability of our species at large. Now, some of the things with eugenics and Rockefeller's on there, they on the controversy of conspiracy and whatnot. I think in terms of why I came here tonight is I want to know what the Canadian Action Party could do, because I'm really considering throwing my hat in. I've been very politically involved in the city, and I'm globally connected with a lot of organizations that are affiliated with some of these people. I think that we as citizens of Canada or the world are best served for our future. Instead of trying to call them evil and whatnot, let's let the sands of time fall on them. It's good. The conscious awareness of everything globally is coming out. Once we start talking about some of the neocons and stuff like that, then we get shut down and we don't get any airtime, and we don't get to share our message, and we don't get to try and unify ourselves so we can go through a rebirth. Myself and my organization, I have an NGO that will be launching soon. We have a global political agenda, and there's over 1 million NGOs now, the likes of Bono and John Barlow and some really interesting people that are off the grid that are putting their time and energy into what I refer to as a critical mass rebirth. I don't think that a lot of these forces and that world money people are going to have the significance that they used to always have, because we're waking up as a civilization. The U.S. military is up to $75,000 a pop for signing bonuses right now. They can't get people to join the Army. They're dropping like flies. They're living on the street. Suicide rates up. I think one of the most significant things that we could do is if we have family or friends that are into the military or any of these movements that are preparing for martial law and that we should enlighten them that they're working for corporations now. They're not working to prepare us. They're not working to protect against terrorism. The whole political system agenda has been taken over by a corporate agenda. And believe it or not, as I journey through my political realm, I'm finding a lot of high-end people that can be labeled as, very controversial as evil people and that at the end of the day, the quieter moments, the conversations, when I connect the dots and I enlighten them to where the future of their generations are, I'm having a lot of these people come to the table very discreetly. I would like to try to do what I can help the Canadian Action Party, but unfortunately I think that the whole political process is so ineptly corrupt by bureaucratic process that it can't fix itself, and the snowball is rolling too fast.
Okay, you may be right about the last point, and you're certainly right about Paul Grignon's Money is Dead. I know Paul, and I have sold and given away quite a few of his CDs. I wish there were some tonight, because there's no clear explanation of how money gets created and how it needs to be created, and that's what I'm talking about. And there is this singular political party in Canada that seems to understand that from Paul Hellier's writings and so on. It's too bad that we can't infuse these same meaningful policies into the other opposition parties. There's no hope that they'll be infused into Tweedledum or Tweedledummer. And when you look at the third option, the NDP, then you have to say, well, are they trying too hard to be too much to too many and not focused on big, big, big and stick by it? If Jack Layton had simply said, we want proportional representation and we're going to bring down the government if we don't get it, why didn't he say that? He could have. He didn't. Too bad. No, the war economy you're talking about is such a big, big, big thing. The United States spends more money on defense, which I call offense, than all the rest of the world combined. No, that doesn't.
What's the Canadian Action Party going to do to focus on it to try and unify in a national level? Because I think time is such of the essence here that, I mean, I hate to interject, but I want a clear understanding what the Canadian Action Party is going to do.
Well, I can only speak personally, you see, on that. And were I to run as a candidate for Parliament again, I would be very, very selective where I run and what the issues are that I fully understand and how I can bridge those to national issues. I could do that in Ontario. And the riding in my mind is Kingston and the Islands. And it's downwind from the Bath plant, where Lafarge is trying to burn tires and sewage and garbage to lower their costs. They've already polluted the land, air, and water. That's a for instance. It's not the only for instance, but you see what I mean. And who is the incumbent? The Speaker of the House. And in the campaign, you ask him about an issue, and he tells you, I am the Speaker of the House. And he's still the Speaker of the House. Wasn't that pretty easy to defeat such a person? I think so, if he simply said, there's an issue here and he doesn't pay attention. There's another one there, he doesn't, and another. But what does that do for what you're saying overall? Not much. Not much, and it isn't going to give us proportional representation unless someone suggested recently, if all the opposition parties combined and said, this is it, we're going to take power and we're going to get proportional representation, and then we can go back to our own parties if we want. But that's a far-fetched idea.
Though. We're not taking real action and trying to make a real significant change, because if we keep thinking that by following this political archaic system that somehow we're going to magically be able to change the legislation, or it's a moot point. The powers that be, they're ready to shut us all down right now. Go to World War III.
Who said very well that it seems bizarre and weird and unreasonable to think that a small group of people meeting together and persisting would change the world. But it's the only thing that ever has. So that's all I can do is quote her back to you. That our central bank, our own bank, could finance, for instance, the bridges in Halifax. I studied those 2 years ago. They cost $103 million to build them. And in 1991, the finance minister of my province, who had already bankrupted the province, agreed to guarantee the Bank of Montreal $100 million that was still owed. And the total owed over the total time for $103 million was already $200 million to the banksters. Now those are hard numbers. The treasurer of the commission helped me with the data. And that's how ridiculous it all is when you look at it in the way that Paul Granier presents it, or you were saying. If you want to read some real trash that is doing you in as a taxpayer in Canada, read Canada First, Defense Policy, put on the website June 19th, just before Parliament prorogued for the summer, so there'd be no discussion. What does it say? It says $500 billion, buddy, coming out of your pocket. That's what it says. And we are going to be combat ready. When the Pentagon says jump, we will be ready to jump. That's what it says. Huh? Is this my country? Oh no, I'm going to move to Denmark. That's our next door neighbor, you know. Maybe I'll move to Greenland. It's nearer than...
Bilderberg representatives in Denmark